Object Code 18CS2015 Object Oriented Programming Lab. Experiment number 2, User-Defined Functions. In this video, we're going to see how functions concept can be implemented in C++ programming language. Here we have three programs to demonstrate on. Now, the first one is to check whether a number is prime or not. Now, the first line we have a header file included here, which makes our input-output operations work on this program. Now, we have a namespace. That doesn't make any problem when we have variables with same names or with similar identifiers. We use that using namespace std. Now we have a function here, that is the return type of function is int. Since this function is returning some integer value 0 or 1, right, like that, right? Therefore the return type is int, and now here we have a function that takes the argument a of type integer. Now we start from main function. Enter any number. We prompt the user to enter the number, and that will be stored in a using this cn operator. Now we are checking. Yeah, here is a function called prime num of. This is a function, and we are passing the user entered value to this prime num function. We have a variable var equals 0. We see y is 0. We are using this for loop that starts from 2, and the logic here is when if it is a prime number, if a is a prime number, for example, all the numbers below a and above 2 and below a should not be divisible by a. For example, we'll take a as 5. For example, 5. Now we start from 2, and 2 is not divisible by. Sorry, 5 is not divisible by 2. It is not divisible by 3 either, and it is not divisible by 4. Okay, it's not divisible by means it's a prime number. If it is divisible by any number below it and above 2, it's not a prime number. For example, we take 6. Now we have a condition here, I less than 6. If I is 1, for example, if we assume I is 1, it will be divisible by every number, right? Every number is divisible by 1, so this if condition will become true for every number if I is 1. That's why we are starting from 2. Then 2 is less than 6, for example. Now 6 modulo 2 equals to 0. It is true, right? So we are changing the value of AR as 1. That means this value is now changed. So if it is any prime number, if any number is divisible, we are changing the value VAR. That's it. Or else we just leave the value as 0. Now if we are checking if VAR equals to 1, or if it is 0. If it is 1, we return 0. That means it's not a prime number, or else we return 1. Since if it's not a prime number, we return 0, right? 0 equals 0, we print not prime number. If it is 1, we just print it's a prime number. I hope this program is correct and works. We'll check if it works or not. Prime. Yeah, prime number 7. It's a prime number, right? For example, we take 6. It's not a prime number. Now a second program is Armstrong number. Okay. As usual, we have a header file included here, and the main case here is to calculate the power, right? To calculate the power of each digit raised to the count of number of digits in a number, right? We'll see it later after the main function. Now we have a void Armstrong number. That's also a function. We'll start from main function. Here we are prompting the user to enter the number to check whether a number is Armstrong or not. We are prompting the user, and we are reading the input from the user and storing that in the variable of type int n. Now we are passing that value as an argument to this Armstrong num function, which we have defined earlier above the main function. Now this value, user entered value, will be copied here, right? Here. Yeah, 16th line. It will be copied into the value n, into variable n. Now we have some variables here. We'll see why we have all these variables in this program. The first is, as I've already told, that we have to count the number of digits in order to check whether it's Armstrong or not. We have to use this number of digits to check in the checking process, right? For that, I have a while loop that divides the number by 10. means if you divide any number by 10 after a couple of divisions it will become 0. For example, if the number is 153, if you divide by 10, the first iteration it will be 15, second it will be 1, and third iteration that's the logic here. If n is not equals to 0, means while n is not equals to 0, initially n is a user entered value. In this case we took as 153, right? 153 will not be equal to 0, and we are incrementing count by 1, and we are dividing it by 10, means it will be 15 for the next iteration. In the next iteration we are checking whether it's not equal to 15, not equals to 0, and we are incrementing count again. Now further, if we divide by 10 it gets 1, and count will be incremented, and if it is still divided by 0, the condition in the while loop fails, and we have the number of digits count in the count variable. Now here is our for loop to calculate the sum of the digits raised to the power of count. Now here I is equals to 0 and I less than count. For example, if our digits count is 3, 153 has 3 digits, this will transfer 3 times. So we'll see why and how. Now this rem is the remainder which we have defined in the which we have defined above. We initialized that variable as type of int. P means I have assigned a uh, n value into p, because when we divide here n equal to n by 10 means after that it will be 0, right? Now we cannot directly use that n value here since it will be 0. That's why we have to previously assign n to p and use that p here. It will be fine, right? That's the logic. P modulo 10 means we get the last digit. Take the last digit and uh, power it with count. That's what we are doing here. Sum is the variable that was set to 0 initially. Since we have to sum all the digits power raised to the power, right? See, it is set to 0, and sum equals sum plus power of remainder comma count. We are passing two arguments to the power function, which I have already told. Power function takes two arguments. One is the remainder, that is the last digit, which we have extracted using modulus operator, and count. Count is the number of digits we have calculated using this while loop. I have already told it. And now this power function takes two values which were passed below. Now we are checking if expo is double equals to 0. And that means if the power value is 0, the total value will become 1, right? Simply we return 1, and we exit from this function, or else we have to calculate function manually. We are using a while loop that has a condition expo not equals to 0 and a variable b equals to 1. uh, b b equals to b into base means b equals to 1 into, for example, we will take 2 power 3. Example, b equal to 1 into base means 2, right? Now we are decrementing the value of exponent by 2. Now it becomes 2, right? 2 not equals to 0. Now again b will be 2 into base means 2. The Then b will be assigned the value of 4. That means this loop runs until expo becomes 0. If we decrement it by 1 in each iteration. For example, if expo is 3, this loop runs for 3 times. If this loop runs for 3 times, we can get the total value in the variable b. That's why we have that. And after that we are returning b. If we return b, the total value will be returned to the function call. Here we have a function call, right? Each time in each iteration we call this function to get the power of the remainder and count, and we divide it by 10. P equals to p by 10 means that number, for example 3 will be 15, right? In the next iteration the remainder, this remainder variable gets 15 modulo 10. Otherwise if you don't do this step, you will in each iteration you will get the last digit 3 only. You will not get 5, right? When you divide it by 10 you will get 15 as the p, and 15 modulo 10 you will get 5. In this way you can calculate the power for 3. Again I assign the value of n into check, because uh, if we will to use, if we wish to use this p value, that will be some 0, right? Some 0 and the divided value, and that is not the user entered initial value, right? That's why we are assigning n to another integer variable, that is check. Any variable we can take. We are checking if check is equals to sum. That means the calculated sum should be equal to the entered original number. Check is nothing but entered original number, right? User entered initial number, that is check. And if it is equals to sum, it is an Armstrong number, or else we are printing it's not an Armstrong number. I hope it is fine. Just a minute. Takes a while to build a program. I will code the control. Now we'll try for 153. And it's an Armstrong number. You will check for another 154. I have explained of in this case 4 cube, that is 64, and 5 cube, that is 125, and 1 cube, that is 1, is not equal to 154. That's the case. That's why it's shown it's not an Armstrong number. So the next program in our experiment 2 is Fibonacci series, printing Fibonacci series using functions concept. We have a void function that doesn't return anything in return. That's why the return type was called void here. And the function name, and this is the argument n of type integer. Now we'll start from main function. Int n. N is to store the user entered value. We are prompting the user to enter the value of n, and when he enters, we are reading the input and storing that data into n. And we are calling the Fibonacci method function with argument n, that is user entered value we are passing, and we received here, and we have some stock variables here: I equals to 0, a equals to 0. This I is basically for this while loop, and a and b are the reference numbers which we need, which we definitely need to print any Fibonacci series, because Fibonacci series is the concept of that's the reason we definitely need these two initialized variables, equals 0, b equals 1, and c, we can assume c as the next term. While I less than n means this, I will be 0, and for example, if n is 5, it runs 5 times, including 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now then we can have 5 values of Fibonacci series printed, right? Here we have used this function cout to print the value of a. Initially it is 0, and its enter is to move the cursor to the next line, so that when you print the series, it will be each number will be on separate lines. Yeah, we have just printed a, and c is a type of integer type variable that holds the sum of previous two numbers, right? Here the previous two numbers, we don't have any previous numbers in the first iteration, so we have a plus b. 0 plus 1, c will have 1 now. Now a equals to b and b equals to c, means we are assigning b to a. That means a value is 0 and we are making it 1 now, and b value is 1. Now we are assigning 1. So that means c is 1 in the first iteration. So a is 1 and b is 1, and c is also 1. These three variables are 1 now, and a was 0 and it was printed in the first iteration. In the second iteration, uh, since all these variables are 1, a along with a, now a, that means 1 will be printed. Now c equals to 1 plus 1. Now c is 2, a is 1, so c is 2 and a is 1, and b is 2, right? B is 2. Now in second iteration, since a is 1, so 1 will be printed. Now in the third iteration, c is equals to a was 1, 1 plus uh, b was assigned with c, right? That means 2. 1 plus 2, that means 3. Now a is b was assigned 2, right? A will be 2. Now in that way, b will be 3 again. And now when you print a, it will print 2. That means 0, 1, 1, and 2. That's the series. That's the Fibonacci series. Now each time we increment, in each iteration we increment I by 1, and when it is greater than or equal to 0, this while loop fails, and we'll have the output on this. Now we'll run this and check. Enter any number 5, for example. Sorry, this is Armstrong number. Fibonacci. Enter, and okay. Now 5. We have now you can see here. Fibonacci series up to 5 numbers have been printed in the output. For example, 3. We will have only 3 numbers printed in the output. Now I hope this experiment 2, all programs are correct and have been executed successfully. Thank you.